Hello everyone, welcome to Titan Survey Tutorials. In this video we will review the objects and relationships in the Titan Survey package for Salesforce. Alright, so we'll start with an ERD I grabbed from our objects in Salesforce, and let's start with our main object, which is the survey. This is our first object. It contains stuff like survey name, Titan survey ID, and a bunch of descriptive information about the survey. This object main uses to describe our survey, what it is, for how long it's valid, and stuff like that. Just general information about our survey. Our next object, which under the survey we can have multiple questions, it's our survey question object, where you have the details about a single question. And obviously you can have multiple questions under one survey, and this is what the survey question is for. Now, this is just straightforward. Next object we're going to talk about is the survey distribution. Survey distribution is basically allows us to isolate a single distribution per survey. For instance, one distribution can be through an email, another one can be through a Salesforce automation, another one can be a web survey, etc. For every single distribution, we will create that object for you, and we will say stuff like if it's scheduled, for when it is scheduled, what's the object that you want to send. For instance, if you want to send a survey to an account or a contact, you can do that multiple times on the same survey with the same question and just have a new survey distribution. So every time you distribute, that survey distribution will be created for you automatically. Next one up is our survey taker. Basically what the taker does, and you cannot really see it here because I did not grab a lookup to an account or a contact in this ERD. What this does, it basically relates our person or our entity. The person that's taking the survey can be any object, so it could be an account. For instance, we can see we have a lookup to an account over here, a case, a contact, you name it, and it relates it to our survey distribution, and from there obviously to our survey. The next one up, if we'll jump up for a second, is our survey tracking. So for each taker we have a tracking. So every time that person opened that, it could be again account, case, contact, any object, will create that dynamically depending to which object you want to distribute to in Salesforce. Then you'll have a tracking with a status, open, completed, and you can go ahead and discover these objects on your own and see our statuses over there. It's pretty straightforward. And next one up is our survey question response, which basically gives us a response for each question in the survey. So that will obviously be related to our survey taker, the person that took our survey. And again, that taker could be related to any object in Salesforce, the one that you decided to distribute to. And these lookups, by the way, are being generated dynamically. So we have here for a case and for a contact, these were generated automatically since my distribution was, the object was for a contact or a case, and you can do any object in Salesforce. So our survey question response will relate to a survey taker and to a question. So we have here a bunch of types of responses depending on what kind of question you created in your survey. So for each taker, you will have as many survey question responses for all the questions in your survey. The last object, which is not related to anything in this ERD, is survey log. So this will report issues like distribution failed for any reason. It will give you some debug information and some error information if necessary. If you have any errors, something is not happening right, you can just jump into the survey log object and see what is going on. Okay, so let's take a quick look within Salesforce. So I'm on my demo org here, and I'm just going to look and go into one of my surveys, and let's take a look. So I have the basic information about the survey, and again, feel free to explore it yourself. Let's take a look at the related. We have the survey taken, which is my object that is taking the survey. In this instance, we can see that it's related to a contact, so we can see that it was taken by this contact. And under this, if we remember, we have the responses and the trackings, so I can see it was open and completed and etc. Let's go back to our survey and take a look at the related. I have 3 distributions for this. All of them are for the object of contact, and for each distribution I'll have different takers in there depending on my query, what's my filter, depending how I sent it to a list view, and we have our responses. Okay, so let's go back to the survey and take a look at the related, and we have also obviously our survey questions. In this instance, for this survey, I have 1 question, so a single question, and it's a rating question, and I have the description about the question. So our range is from 1 to 10, and see the related, and from here I can see all the responses, and these responses are across many distributions. So you can see any response you have for this question, doesn't matter from which taker and from what distribution, all of that will come down to here. Now let's take a peek at our survey logs, and let's just view all, and I have some logs over here. In our instance, it's a debug level. So if I'll go into one of these guys, so we have a debug level of, we have debug, which is just information warn, error fatal, and in this instance I can see that some work was done, delete workflow happened, which means everything is fine. Since we create automatically in cases of email workflows, we create the workflow for you and then get rid of it, so you don't get to the threshold of 50 workflows per object. Alright, just one thing to mention, none of these objects actually need to be created from within Salesforce. Everything happens from Titan survey. Whenever you create a survey, you create a distribution, everything happens from there. You don't need to actually create anything in Salesforce. We do that for you. It's just important to get to know the objects and the relationships in cases of reportings, and especially the survey logs, if you want to see what's happening if something is not going right. And this is how it's done.